Hi guys, it's Al from Long Live Aprilia Futura. So just another quick update. So back out working on the Futura today. So I had another fiddle around with some of the routing for these cooling lines because they are designed for the RSV, but there's some nuances on this bike which make things a bit more interesting. So I have swapped this around a little bit to make the routing a lot better, and it actually sits a lot cleaner through the recess between the engine side of the frame rail and the outer side, so that's not pinching that line anymore. So I'm a lot happier with the way that's flowing, which is really good. I had a long fiddle around with this return line as well, which runs parallel to the two front coils. So as many people probably know, is that the Futura runs these stick coils inside the frame, whereas the RSV runs these fatter coils along essentially a mounting plate on the outside of the frame, and a lot of the fairing covers all that lot up. So in terms of routing, you've got a lot less room to play around in here. So I've done the best I can to make sure that this can clear as much as possible and run out to the front of the radiator. But even so, it's still very tight down there and is quite close to the front cylinder. So having said that, though, I think the original cooling hose was also very tight in there. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, whether there's any problems in there as well. I'm not a big fan of these stick coil arrangements inside the frame like this because of all sorts of mounting problems, reasons, and drying out wiring and all sorts of other things. I'd much rather Aprilia had stuck to the RSV layout along the side of the frame and actually made the fairings maybe a bit wider to accommodate all that. So that's just a bit of a moan from me, but I think Aprilia made a bit of a cock up when they did that, to be honest. So if anybody else has actually modified that to run a different arrangement where coils might be on the outside, or perhaps even stick coils on the cylinders, on the plugs themselves, let me know in the comments, because I might even consider doing that myself. So that's pretty much all good to go. Throttle body's back on as well. So obviously throttle position sensor, fuel injection, wiring is all back on. Fuel pressure regulator, all the other bits and pieces have been done. The only thing I'm waiting to do now is to tighten this up, which is the high pressure fuel line. So I don't know what the torque settings are for these two bolts that hold this on. Everything seems to be 3.5 Newton meters around all these other bits that hold the fuel injection housing onto the throttle body, but I'm just not convinced that's going to be the same. So the manual's a bit vague on that, so I'm trying to ask around to see if anybody knows exactly what that should be before I tighten everything down. So once that's done, reconnect back up to the fuel tank onto the fuel pump housing plate at the bottom. So the fuel pump's been rebuilt on the tank, so change the inline filter and the teabag strainer thing at the bottom as well. Checked everything over, so that's all good to go. So tank back on, connect the line back up, connect the fuel pump back up here, put some fuel in there, get the clocks back on as well to see if we've got any ECU errors or essentially sensor errors that need to be looked over, and then hopefully we'll be in a position to start maybe firing this up. So that might happen today, it might happen tomorrow, but more likely tomorrow now when I get some info about this. So I hope your Futura is all going well. Perhaps they're running rather than sat in the garage being worked on, but needs must to make sure this old girl is fit to run out maybe in September. So let me know if you're working on the Futura or riding her out and about at the moment in the comments. So take care, ride safe, and speak to you soon.